Chapter 11. Chapter 11 is all about Mrs. Dubose. I love her. When I get old, I want to be just like her. She sits on her porch and she just screams nasty things at the kids. Like, I don't know why old people do this, but they just do. So the kids know her as a mean old lady. She is their boundary at the north end of. I mean, she's the she's the stop or the farthest that they're allowed to go north. And every day when they run to meet Atticus coming home from work, they have to go past Mrs. Dubose's house. All right. And every day when they go past her, she yells mean and nasty things at them. The rumor is that she's in a wheelchair. She's super old, so we're going to put her at like 90 years old. But she sits there in her wheelchair with her blanket over, which I have my blanket, so I'm getting there. And the rumor is that she keeps a pistol, a Confederate pistol, underneath her blankets. So the kids are really scared of her. They try to be nice to her. Like Atticus has taught them to respect her and be nice to her and just, she's just an old lady. Don't let it bother you. But it just makes me laugh because they go by and Scout yells, "Hey, Mrs. Dubose," trying to be nice. And what this old lady yells back is, "Don't say hey to me, you ugly girl." It just makes me laugh that she calls her an ugly girl. But she comments on everything about their life. And she yells these mean and nasty things to the kids. And you're supposed to just chalk it up to her being old. However, I want to point out to you that there's a couple of spots in the chapter with some things that Atticus says and the way that Mrs. Dubose acts that I want to propose to you. And this is just my own theory. Like, this is what I think. I think she does this on purpose. I think that she uses her advantage of being old, being allowed to say things like this that you're not supposed to say to people, etiquette wise. And she's doing it on purpose to toughen the kids up. Okay. I think she doesn't agree with Atticus's choices. I do think that she thinks that he's wrong for defending a black man. If she's like 90 years old, this means that she, 1930s, 90 years old. She was born she was alive in 18, I'm not a math person very much, but 1840. 1930, 1840s. Yeah, that's 90. So if she was 1840 or 1850s when she was born, she lived through the Civil War. She knew life with slavery. She knew life after slavery, and she knew the struggles that occurred for blacks trying to gain equality. So she probably was a very, very racist, white, privileged, rich woman. Okay. So she's going to harbor these racist attitudes. So yeah, she doesn't agree with what Atticus is doing by defending him, but I think that she takes that and uses her age and her advantages with that to try to help the kids deal with it, to try to toughen them up for what they're going to encounter in the future. So the big thing about her is she also says these bad things about Atticus, being a black lover, lawyering for blacks. He's a disgrace. He's all this stuff. And the key to this one is that Jem is the one that loses his temper. Okay. Jem has been able to withstand all this. Jem has been able to put up with it from his own classmates, from the kids at school, everything like that. But now all of a sudden, this is an adult. This is an adult that's saying bad things about his dad. First adult, and it points that out in the book. I think that he just loses it with this, and I think she does it on purpose. The kid's going to town. It's Ben Jem's birthday. He buys himself a little toy, and then he buys Scout a baton, which is one of those things that the girls in the parade, when you're marching, they throw up in the air and catch it. And so he buys her that, and she throws it up, drops it, throws it up, drops it. It's filthy dirty by the time they make it back as far as Mrs. Dubose's. And Jem just loses it. He grabs the baton. He just chops the bejeebers out of her camellia bushes, which is a beautiful, expensive, super fragrant, like it's a special flower. And she has them planted by her sidewalk, and he just chops them all up. He, with that baton, just whips at them until all the buds, the leaves, everything are destroyed. Throws the baton down, Scout's screaming. He pulls her hair, he kicks her, she falls down, he grabs her and picks her up. I mean, this is a full on fight between the kids right on the sidewalk. And they go home. And then Jem kind of mopes around, waiting for Atticus to get home, waiting for his punishment. I don't know about you, but that's, to me, one of the worst things is the wait. I know I'm going to get it. There's nothing I can do about it. I screwed up. I was naughty. I got caught. I'm going to get punished, and you got to sit there and wait for it. And he does. He doesn't hide. He doesn't lie. Atticus walks in, says, "Son, did you do this?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because she said bad things about you." Like, he takes it. He owns it. So Jem is a very respectable character. He's growing up, and he's learning how to be responsible for his actions. Okay? Atticus makes him go talk to Mrs. Dubose alone, won't let Scout go. While he's gone, he talks to her about why he's doing the case, and he says that he's got to do it because otherwise he couldn't go to church. He couldn't go before God. He can't live with himself if he doesn't do it. This is a moral obligation. It's something he has to do. He has to stand up for his beliefs, and if he doesn't, he can't live with himself. Okay? It's a moral obligation that he has to fulfill. And so Jem comes home, and his punishment is that he has to go and read to Mrs. Dubose for a month. And the book goes through all this stuff about how they go, and she criticizes them, says bad things about them, says bad things about Atticus, their mother, all of that. Then she falls asleep. She has these horrible fits where she twitches and drools and moans and all this kind of stuff. A bell rings, and Jessie, the housekeeper, shoos them out, and they go home. And as the time goes on throughout the month, they find that instead of like the first day they get out like 3:30 or something, all of a sudden towards the end of it, like the last day of the month that they have to do this, and Scout doesn't have to, but she goes every time anyway. She's going to protect her brother, okay? But the last day, they're still there when Atticus comes home from work. The kids aren't home yet, so he goes to Mrs. Dubose knowing that that's where they are, and he and Mrs. Dubose have a conversation. She's not asleep. She hasn't had a fit that day, and she says to him, "Look at the clock. It's 5 minutes after 5. Alarm goes off at 5:30. I'm going to make it." And Scout is just like, what? How can he stand there and be polite to her after she says all these mean and nasty things? And how is she nice to him when she says mean and nasty things? This is another life lesson. You can disagree with somebody. You can disagree with what they believe. You can disagree with what they do. You can disagree with all kinds of things about them. But you can still be their friend. And it's called respect. You might not agree with what somebody does, but you're still kind, you're still respectful, and you can be friends who agree to disagree. Life lesson that you learn as an adult. Scout is just like, what? Okay, she doesn't get it yet. But basically, Atticus says, "So how much longer?" And she's like, "I think one more week." So Jem has to read to her another week past the month. He's mad, but he does it. And finally, she tells them, "You're done. You don't need to come back." However, in that week, she never goes to sleep. She never has any fits. And instead, Jem hardly even reads to her, but she spends the whole 2 hours criticizing him, criticizing Scout, criticizing their lifestyle, criticizing their father, saying horrible, nasty things about him. And the whole time, Scout says that Jem's face was one of resigned, polite detachment, where he learned to just let it roll off and not let it affect him. And I think that was her whole purpose for the kids. The other purpose was, and Atticus explains it around page 110, that she was a morphine addict. So morphine is a painkiller. She's been taking it for years. The doctor has now told her that she's going to die in a couple of months, and she decides that she does not want to be addicted to morphine when she dies. It would be a lot easier. She would be able to die pain-free and just die on the morphine. But she says, I don't want to be beholden to anyone. I want to die free. And so she tells Atticus, everything else is in order. All of my financial affairs are in order, but I need to take care of this one thing. This is why Atticus makes Jem follow through on the reading. Mrs. Dubose is trying to come off of the morphine. When she does, she has withdrawal symptoms, and those withdrawal symptoms are the fits that she has. Is she actually asleep while the kids are reading? No. She's trying to stretch out her time of, if she normally took a morphine pill at 3, she's going to stretch it out to 3:30 the first couple days. Then she stretches it out till 3:45. Then she might stretch it out till 4 o'clock, until finally she's stretching it out until 5 o'clock, until she doesn't need it anymore. Her body stops that craving. And this is a legit thing about when you get addicted to something like morphine or any type of drug like that. You have to wean off of it, and your body will go through these types of fits, physical reactions to it. And she needs the distraction. She has the kids come and read so that she can focus on their voice, focus on the reading, so that she has something else to focus on instead of the physical reactions that are happening in her body when it wants the morphine. Okay, so they were a distraction technique for her so that she could get off the morphine, and at the same time, she's toughening them up for what they're about to encounter in town. Page 112 has one of the most important quotes in this whole book, besides the title one that I told you on last chapter. But on page 112, he says, I told you that even if you hadn't lost your head, I'd have made you go read to her. I wanted you to see something about her. I wanted you to see what real courage is, instead of getting the idea that courage is a man with a gun in his hand. Okay? Courage is not just somebody who stands up and holds a weapon, which is what the kids are thinking right now after the Mad Dog episode and all that kind of stuff. Atticus's definition of courage is, it's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through no matter what. It's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through no matter what. You rarely win, but sometimes you do. She was the bravest person I ever knew. Okay? Break that down in your own head for a while. Courage isn't a man with a gun in his hand. It's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through to the end, no matter what. You rarely win, but sometimes you do. You can apply that to anything. Let's go back to that sports analogy I used before. You're going up against a really tough team. You know you're going to lose. Like, they are undefeated. You've lost 6 games that season already, and you're going up an undefeated team, and everybody says the odds are against you. You still go into it, and you give it everything you've got. You begin anyway. You don't walk up and just give up the game and say, well, you're going to win anyway, so here you go, here's the trophy. We're just not even going to play. We're not going to show up. You begin anyway, and you see it through to the end no matter what. Even if you're down 51-0 in a football game, you don't just quit in the middle of the fourth quarter. You keep playing. You keep running the ball. You keep throwing the ball. You keep tackling. You don't just give up. That's what courage is. There's a lot of different situations in life where you're going to need courage, and you can't approach them with a weapon. That's not true courage, going out after somebody with a weapon. There are a lot of situations in life where you need courage to get through them. You're going to be thrown, if you haven't already, which I know a lot of you have. But some of you have never run across that hard thing yet. And you're going to. God is going to put things in your path that are so hard, you'll think that you can't get through it, but you do it anyway, one step at a time, and you see it through until the end. That's courage, not giving up and not facing it with a weapon. Make sure you know Atticus's true definition of courage, and that is your keyword for Chapter 11, courage. Please send me one email with the keywords from Chapters 4 through 11, which means you should have 8 keywords. Okay? And we'll start part 2 in the next video.